During the Cold War, the Army and others used 500,000 U.S. citizens in weapons development programs and experiments. Do you think that they just stopped abruptly at the end of the Cold War? If they could continue without the risk of getting caught, wouldn't they be tempted to continue? Speaking abstractly, let's say you have a mass murderer who has tortured and or killed 500,000 people, and he got away with it. And suddenly, one day, you gave him a weapon that could kill anyone, anywhere, without the risk of getting caught. What do you think he would do? Would he just suddenly stop out of a newfound sense of morality? Persons of interest in the intelligence agencies have been in charge of non-lethal microwave weapons development for the Army since 1980, and they have worked at U.S. government weapons labs like Los Alamos National Laboratory, where the atomic bomb was invented in secret. These individuals have expressed interest in using microwave weapons to modify human behavior and, in their own words, neuter people. Some of these borderline personalities have publicly advocated using extremely low-frequency ELF weapons to attack civilians in their own homes. Some of the alleged perpetrators have been instrumental in moving the classified military weapons from the Department of Defense to the Department of Justice and into the hands of local law enforcement for use against, quote, domestic enemies involved in domestic disturbances, unquote, which is vague enough to mean essentially anyone. None of these intelligence officers or physicists and scientists are superstitious or believe in any of the borderline ideas they promote. The superstitions, like remote viewing, are part of a smokescreen by Army intelligence to cover up the development and use of speed of light electromagnetic weapons. These men are experts in psychological warfare operations with 45 years experience in the art of misdirection, subterfuge, and counterinsurgency warfare. Military intelligence officers in charge of non-lethal weapons development programs, and the physicists at government weapons labs who invent non-lethal weapons technologies for the Army are loudly advocating borderline beliefs and superstitions like doomsday apocalyptic cults and the remote viewing hoax. Remote viewing is sold online by Army intelligence officers, in effect saying, if you give me your credit card, then for $3,000 we will teach you superpowers of the mind so you can be a Superman and see on the other side of the world to spy on the Russians in their underground bases and to find their submerged submarines hiding in the ocean. The stories of superstitious-like belief systems do not go together with U.S. Army weapons development programs. One of these things does not belong with the other. They do, however, go together with the concept of the big lie, used as a smokescreen operation to cover up large-scale operations that military intelligence is trying to hide. Army intelligence first used this technique for the D-Day invasion in World War II. Army intelligence created a fictional First Army group around General George Patton to mislead the Nazi high command about where the invasion would take place. The imaginary army had fake radio traffic, inflatable tanks and planes, and even fake landing craft. The Nazi high command was so fooled that even weeks after the Normandy invasion, they were still holding many of their Panzer tank divisions in reserve, waiting for the real invasion to take place at Calais. The big lie was used to successfully cover up the real operation consisting of 8,000 1,000 ships and hundreds of thousands of men. The strategy of the Big Lie functions like the thousands of strips of aluminum foil that the Allied planes would drop, so the Nazi radar screens would be overwhelmed and show a single giant blob on their radar screen. Thus, the Allied planes, flying within the cloud of aluminum foil, was rendered invisible. It's important to understand the type of person that we are dealing with. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover had evidence in his files on presidents and congressmen that detailed their personal lives and made them afraid to fire him. Hoover and the FBI targeted political activist organizations and individuals in Operation COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program. Hoover personally wrote the late Dr. Martin Luther King a letter in an attempt to force him to commit suicide. Hoover's career stretched from the 1930s to the 1970s, when he died in office because he wanted to stay in office. This was unprecedented for one man to control one of the most powerful agencies in government for so very long. This is the kind of power that we are faced with. Men too powerful to defy, too powerful to cross, or anyone. Even congressmen or presidents might be politically destroyed or even physically destroyed. A man who commands the power to assassinate anyone in a way that appears to be a natural cause of death is able to get away with murder. It is the perfect crime. This capability is exactly what we are faced with, the ability to kill anyone with plausible deniability. If J. Edgar Hoover had access to these weapons, he would have used them on people like Dr. Martin Luther King with impunity. You would have read one day that Dr. King had died suddenly from a heart attack or cancer or even suicide. His organization and movement would have stalled out and died off before it could achieve real momentum in society.